Thank you
the
so
color.
much, Joy. Thank you, Rosie. My name is Cecilia Mueni, as Joy has said. I work for the Safari Collection, which is a collection of 4 properties, and I'm representing the Samburu community today, Sasaab. That's why I have this wonderful necklace with me, Rosie. We do a lot of community and conservation work in Sasaab, Samburu, but we also work in Salas, in the Masai Mara, Giraffe Mana, where I'm at. There's a bit of a giraffe at the background, and also Solio Lodge in Laikipia. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is almost like a picture of what Sasaab would look like on a normal day. It's a hot and very dry area. It's in the north of Kenya. Rosie, the next slide, please. Just to show you from the map of Kenya, it's Samburu area is basically, and Sasaab is basically the gateway to the north. The joke before used to be when people come from the north going down towards Nairobi, they'd be like, go say hi to the Kenyans, because it wasn't considered part of Kenya then. But as time has gone by, they're slowly, and with devolution now, they're slowly becoming more accountable to the national government, so they don't live their own lives the way they used to before. So the nomadic, the tribes in the north are mainly nomadic, so you'll find a lot of pastoralists, and they mainly depend on their livestock and a bit of tourism for their major economic, what do you call it, as their major form of income. Okay. So for the Samburus, livestock has always played a special place in their lives. They consider you to be wealthy if you've got more livestock. And what this means for them is that pasture is very important for them. So you can imagine having to look for pasture in a dry and very arid area like that one. So what would happen is that they would always move from place to place, as most tribes in the northern area are looking for pasture. And this term, they normally call it lalenok, going in search for pasture. And for the longest time, I never used to understand how this works, because for me, I run a scholarship program in the area. And every time we pick up kids from school, today they'll tell you, I'm in Westgate, tomorrow I'm in Lempaute, the other day I'm in Gutuk, and you're like, where do you live? And I could not understand why they keep on shifting from place to place, until one of our guides told me a story about how being in boarding school and in high school for him was never a guarantee that you go home and you will find that your family is in the same place that you left them, because they've moved to look for pasture. So it's something that is very common there, but it's slowly changing. Next slide, please.
Eta panchan chidatoyo. Kore kiran tomonok kiranya ngidisin na ngomono peny neko ngidisin mean chalankare. Kinjir toltolo sapuk. Lakini ngomono apeny neme onkare.
Para nanito igi yono goro mukare. Kasha bagencha ngata na nere bayasha. Kodura ban murana laidiak no mon ndoro singi disin. Nek ngari ngojit sama ngol gara kalang dosor. Melala ka pake kage kendema nugu murdasho. Kore mberot na ma giada ba njani gitok. Kesa buka ba lariro swam. Na gera ba baraku. Kore tata ke belege nyeda ngamat yanchan. Na ge jibaro tata ngolongi. Kore tanasha noro ndoku bogi. Ko wena ke eningi yongo bang. Kita yelouta ake nukungotu nukurorie.
Kore peaku lapan naimin nikimbung ilder lenchan. Najing kare nkidisin kianyuta enchan metasha.
No mon ndoro sinkidisin.
Kore peanyiku nchan peeshukunye nchan ning'ua ilkeek neshan wonkare neng'asu keek aanyoriju.
Nabulu nkujit. Lakini neibelekenya mbaa. Naa kiasita ena tonobo.
Karet nkoko entarara lenkujit. Kaaliki supatisho enkiteng'ena oonkulupuok. Kayieu naitubulu nkujit peeramat nkulupuok. Kasham tenadol ntare tenenya nkololo keri. Ore mparri nabo kaaturr ilturot lainei. Naashipakino enkop ang'.
Kutodua enkop ang' eibelekenya. Kira yiolo oibelekeny.
Kenap nkuroshi naa kaanapitie.
Wow. So this is the reason why. So what you're seeing before you are land restoration efforts by the Samburu community, known as Earth Smiles or half moons or earth bands. So basically what happens is that in 2023, Westgate is basically divided into grazing, no, not grazing, but 8 zones that have got grazing committees. So in 2023, July, part of the grazing committee was taken for a reconnaissance visit to the Amboseli, which is in the south, where you've got more Maasais who live there, although these Maasais do a bit of agriculture and pastoralism. But what they are trying to do is sort of like restore their lands through the digging of these shallow bands. So what happens is that when it rains, the shallow bands hold rain, and then grass is able to grow. And then this helps improve pasture, as you can see on your right. So an area that was looking, how it was looking on the left, now slowly improves to go on to what is going on the right. So when this grazing committee went to Amboseli for this reconnaissance visit, they came back and they decided, you know what, we can do this for our pasture. You know, unlike the ones in Amboseli who are dealing with agriculture and are looking for soil fertility, most of the land in Samburu is not cultivated. It's mainly for grazing and also for wildlife. So there's a bit of coexistence between the tribes, between the community with the wildlife. So when they came in 2023, by November, they had dug around 5,000 bands. But when some of our partners and Sasaab in particular saw the effect of what this was doing to the land, we joined hands and we have supported them now to do close to 90,000 bands. Let me put it into context. So when they started in 2023, their aim was to do 80,000 bands in 5 years. But this is 3 years later and they have got 90,000 bands, and we've got wonderful stories as the one that you can see here. Next slide, please. But this also meant that the community had to be very responsible on how they're doing their grazing, because as much as you're restoring the rangelands, if you're doing overgrazing, then that meant that it's going to be you're basically retrogressing. You're not doing what the bands were meant to do. So what they did as a community is that they came together and formed controlled grazing sites where the Morans, the young men that you can see on the photo, would come in and be the herders and sort of like help in the grazing of these lands, of these animals. So they bring all the animals together communally, and then they graze them together, and then they've got a map. I was meant to show you a map, but it wasn't possible to load it on this presentation. But basically, it gives out different grazing sites in different times of the season, so that there's not overgrazing happening. So what this has done also is that it has created an opportunity for these young men to get some sort of employment and also get support in terms of food. Just for you to understand, why this is very important for the Morans is that once you become a Moran after circumcision is that you're not allowed to eat at your mother's house. So you have got to fend for yourself. So this means basically they will, roam around, go to the forest, probably take milk from somebody else's cow or something of the sort, just basically, it just means that you cannot eat from your home. So that means they've got to find their own way of surviving. And what this cattle bunching or controlled grazing has done is that it has given them the opportunity to have a place where they can get an income as well as get food from that. Some of the partnerships that we've done is that we've had to provide food for these Morans even as they do this cattle bunching. So you can find a partner has taken a water bowser to where they had because it's communal, and then they also give them food. So that has lessened their work of searching for food from whatever place they're meant to search for because they're not meant to be eating at their parents' place. Next slide, please. And the other surprising thing is that also women have become involved. So if you understand the context of Samburu is that it's highly patriarchal. So decisions such as grazing and who owns what is mainly held by the men, and normally not just any man but senior men in the community. And so for women to get involved in this land restoration project was nothing short of a miracle, because I guess maybe the men are more concentrating on the cattle. So the women got an opportunity to do their own enterprise through now the digging of the bunds. So what has happened in turn is that now women can now put some money in their pocket because they have used the sale of hay as well as the sale of seeds for grass seeds to get some income for themselves. And also one thing that you learn about the Samburu is that culturally they believe that the wildlife belongs to the women. And so some of these women that you're seeing here, you'll hear terms labels such as Mama Simba or Mama Gravy, which basically means the women who are now involved in conservation. So Mama Simba, Mama Gravy are terms used by our conservation partners, Ewaso Lions and Gravy Zebra Trust, who are promoting rangeland management by the women through the digging of bunds. So someone once said that when you educate a woman, you educate a whole generation. So what has happened in turn of this, the Gravy Zebra mamas and the Mama Simba, is that they've educated other women and showed them how to do the bun so that they can also learn how to sell the grass seeds for income as well as do the hay. And this has really helped them. So they have got more say because, as long as the men are happy that the cows are fat, they're also happy to have some money in their pockets. Next slide, please. So of course, this is one of the bunds that we took a shot of, was already grown, and this lady is harvesting grass seeds from it for sale. And one of our partners actually has built sort of like a storage for them in the Westgate headquarters, just to help them to be able to store and sell this in future. But of course, the challenges are there. Patriarchy, of course, is the biggest challenge for the women. I remember going for a meeting where the women were encouraging other women to do the same thing. And someone stood up and said how they had such a bad experience because they'd done their bands and everything. And this month, so normally when you do, it's a piece of land that you're given by the community. I forgot to mention that land is communally owned. So you've got to have permission from the community and the elders for you to be able to use a certain piece of land. So what happens is once you do the bands, you protect it with thorn bushes. So this man in particular came and opened up the thorn bushes and let his cows in, and the women could not do anything about it. And it was like, how do you deal with such things? And I remember one lady standing up and saying, you cannot always just do projects as women. We know we need this man. So why don't you have a man in your project so that anytime you guys have secured your bands, nobody will go in because they know there's a man involved. So definitely not the most ideal, but definitely brings a bit cohesion and more unity in the community, because it means then that their bands are secured. So apart from patriarchy, there's the issue of other nomadic communities. So as much as Samburus are now developing and creating their own grazing plans, you still have a bit of the Rendiles from the north, the Pokot, who are still doing nomadic activities. And so sometimes they would come into their land and they don't have an idea of exactly what's going on with their cattle, with their bunching or with their grass bands. So they will bring in their cows without that knowledge, and that will bring a bit of conflict between the Samburus and whatever community that will be. But what I've seen working for Westgate and what they have done is that they are now educating other communities. I think there are 3 or 5 more conservancies just next to Westgate that have also started doing their own bans. So hopefully in the near future, we'll have more of these land restoration efforts going on in other communities, and this threat will be dissolved. Thank you. Next slide. So what lessons have we learned? First of all, I think the biggest lesson is that buy-in and ownership from the community is very important for any project to succeed. I think the fact that we had the old men sitting in those grazing committees and going for that meeting and then coming back, and then the women are involved in the digging of bands, the other young men are involved in the herding, has been a great opportunity for this community to develop this project, and it's been bought in. It's something that everyone else is buying into just because of the little small things and the little roles that everybody in the community has got to play. There's been an ongoing soil carbon project, and this project in particular brings up additionality to that project, because it means that now, apart from just looking at how much carbon is being stored because of them not practicing any farming, we can now look at how much carbon is being stored as a result of the grass being planted. So there's that opportunity for more research into that, and something that we are also very keen on getting into. And we hope that we'll learn a lot about, using grass as a carbon sink. Then also there's been a lot of training and opportunities for research, especially for the young Morans. They've been trained on rangeland management as well as the women, and this has really helped the community to develop and to grow. Next slide. This was just a thank you message. Part of my presentation today was meant to be with a film, but we're not able to play it. But basically, to put it into context, late last year, Just Dig It International, who are the ones who introduced these bands in Amboseli, in the Chulus, contacted us for a partnership so that we can do a project where we would enter a film based on this project to promote, it's called actually the Water Film Prize. So to promote what the community is doing. And so Westgate community, together with Sasaab and Just Dig It, went out and did a film, which I was meant to show. I think Joe will share it on the chat, where a lady is explaining to her granddaughter on how the journey from, being experiencing different kinds of weather, and how the bands have come in to help in restoring and securing their pasture, and how through, the women normally do communal prayers. They go pray about rain and all that. So when the rains were not there, it was not possible to do these things. But when the rains come, she's seen a change in the community because of the bands. So just the gist of the film, but I should have explained it better, but you will get it better when you watch it. So what happened is the film won the first prize out of 131 entries in 45 countries. And also, I think it's a big win, and even the bigger win is that it's going to be showcased in New York later in May, where they will be showing it in the African Film Festival. So be on the lookout for that for American audience. I think that's it from me today. Maybe I just say the words of Francis Lalampa, who says, thank you for putting us on the global stage through this inspirational film. So as the Samburu say, Ashe Oleng, which means thank you.
Ashe Oleng.